everybody, and welcome to another Agile IT Tech Talk. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, returning after a week away at the IAMCP Southern California 10th anniversary party. While I was there, I got to meet a lot of other Microsoft partners, a number of Microsoft VPs, really the people who run the channel network for Microsoft. And compliance was on everybody's mind. I had a number of conversations around the upcoming CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Protection Act, which goes technically published on January 1st. It's supposed to be in action, but of course, California, everything's a little bit late. Looks like that's going to be going into full effect sometime around July 1st of next year. This is really going to become a GDPR for the United States. 1 in 8 people in the United States are California residents. If you're a business that does any contact, any emails, any personal information with California consumers, you are going to fall under this act. So we're really advising people to kind of look at their GDPR stance, start to align towards that, and get ready for once these actual draft rules are published and finalized at the beginning of next year. Another compliance bit of news. This isn't really news since it's been going on for about maybe 4 or 5 months now. For those of you working in the defense industrial base, we've got CMMC coming up, and that's the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Previously, the DoD contractors were working on attestations. They would just say, yes, I am compliant with DFARS, ITAR, FedRAMP, whichever compliance framework their contracts required. The DoD is now moving into a leveled certification process where you'll have multiple levels based on the information that you're working with, and you will have to have a certification that says that you are meeting certain cybersecurity compliance requirements for each of those levels. We're already working on that. We have those mapped out against current compliance levels for our GCC and GCC high clients. If you want more information, please contact us about that. But last week, we've been looking at integrated protection and governance of data using Compliance and Security Manager in Microsoft 365. So last week, we looked at retention policies. We looked at creating and publishing labels. And this week, we're going to look at auto labeling and how this all really falls into a true modern governance policy and framework for your business. So let's get started here. All right, so last week we were looking at classifications. Today we're gonna be looking or starting with data governance. So retention periods are often based on the age of the content, the files, the emails, the messages. However, sometimes you need to base your retention on when a specific type of event occurs, regardless of the age. So in this case, it's the time since the event that drives the policy. The first stage is creating a consistent label and a policy for a type of event, like product retirement. So we've already created product retired label and put the policy in place. And let's go ahead and look at events. So in this case, we've got a mock product, the X1050. It's scheduled to be retired at the end of the year. All the data assets for that project will fall under the retention rules for the product's end of life. So here we're going to create. And let's go ahead and name it the X1050. We're going to ignore the friendly description right now in the interest of time. We're going to go ahead and use existing labels because we've got that label created. Choose. We're going to add. And we've got the product retired. And we'll add that. Now that's been one label added. Click done. All right, so we could have created the event with the use event types to enable identifying content related to the event, but without a label-based policy. So keyword rules can be used to identify data. This event applies to in SharePoint, OneDrive, and Exchange. That goes back to that Microsoft 365 substrate that we've talked about so much, and which David Branscombe explained so well in our compliance and team tech talk. So let's go ahead. And there we go. So we're setting the asset IDs for SharePoint and OneDrive. When did this event occur? That will be December 31st. Click Next. So any piece of data that has both the label product retirement and asset ID X1050 will time its retention from the retirement date of December 31st now. Well, once we create the event. So this is once again giving you that quick overview, the same as when we published a policy. And let's look at the launch team. All right, so now we can test this by applying a label and an asset ID to a document. So we're just going into the design folder here. Let's look at this marketing initiatives. You right click here and then down in details, scroll down. You're going to see the labels over here in the right hand bar. Now we're going to apply a label. And product retired that we've just set up. All right, so when an event-driven label is used and an event's been created, an extra setting will be offered in order to set the asset ID. In this case, we're going to use asset ID in the event we just created. So, pardon me, we set that right here. All right, and then let's go to security and compliance. Okay, we'll close that. Now what we want to do is we want to auto apply these labels. So after a label is created, you have the option to publish it like we did last week with the previous labels, or to auto apply the labels. I'm going to look at classifications here, labels. I'm going to look at the retention tabs. Okay, so we were previously asked to create the label for content containing common US financial ID info. This will be a user applied label, and we've been asked to have advanced data governance automatically detect and label this type of content. So let's do the PII retention policy. We're going to go to the labels list and auto apply. We want to leave this as apply label to content that contains sensitive info. You can also set this to specific words or phrases. There was a good tech talk we did where we talked about a secret project that we wanted to make sure no information containing it was ever moved out. And let's say that could be the glorious project. So if any document contained the word glorious more than 2 times, that would have specific labeling in order to protect it. There's a lot of different uses for this. If you're curious about how that can help you out individually in your business, go ahead and put some of the questions we can ask. We can carry on in the Q&A period a little bit deeper onto that. So just go on to next here. We're looking at financial info. And let's do US financial data. So the US financial data, this is set up automatically in all of your Compliance Center instances, and this policy protects credit card numbers, bank account numbers, and ABA routing numbers. These are really easy to set because we know what they look like. So in the case of a credit card number, you've got the 16 digits, probably have a date or a CVV code attached to that. This is important for if you're doing PCI compliance. There's a number of banking regulations where you want to make sure this isn't getting moved around. So here we have the select the data. You can go ahead and edit these. We want to go ahead and apply this to all of it. We're going to give the policy a relevant friendly name. Next, we will select the label and where it's going to apply. Let's go ahead and just do this in OneDrive so you can see how that fits. We're going to go ahead and turn off email and SharePoint. Okay, so now this is just going to apply to OneDrive. And that's all of your files shared within Microsoft 365. So for the demo, I don't want to complete applying this, and I'll show you why in a minute. I just wanted to show you guys how it works. Yes, we want to cancel the wizard and close this. All right, now we're going to go back to data governance. Pardon me. Okay, so after publishing or auto-applying labels, you'll want to verify that they're being applied to content as you intended. To monitor labels, you can use the Label Activity Explorer and the Data Governance Reports. So Label Activity Explorer allows you to quickly search and view label activity for all content across SharePoint and OneDrive over the last 30 days. This gives you insight into the usage of labels to aid the proper retention and deletion of data. If you've got policies that aren't triggering properly, this is going to identify it for you. And it has really granular controls providing visualization of label usage. So let's look at some of the data it provides at a glance. So one key filter, pardon me, view label activities isolates changes for files and folders. When a label is applied to a folder, all of the files have that label applied to them. Label activities is a comprehensive look at how many files each label has been applied every day. Label changes shows potentially risky actions in the users who perform them. And you've got the settings that you can set here. Let's go File, Label Changes. So here you can see all the recent events where a label was changed. Okay, so here you can refine the list by choosing what kind of information to filter. Label, file name, user, policy name. You can also filter by date. And look at individual line items. So when you select one of the line items from the list, you'll see details of that activity, including any direct links to the file, the location, the label that's applied, and then you can do a detailed review of the activity and determine what, if any, risk there may be. And these are links to where it's located, what the file name is, and then who applied it. There's a lot more stuff you can do in other platforms like Azure Information Protection to really trace where files are going and where they're being opened. But that's a little bit out of scope for now, and maybe we'll do that in a future tech talk. So let's look at the data governance dashboard here. So really, in just a few minutes, we've improved how an organization manages data from a unified administration interface. With these capabilities and across the different policies, your company can improve security and compliance needed in today's just expansive, the zero trust model, the connected and regulated world. So even if your users are out there on mobile devices, working from home, working from virtual desktops, working from tablets, this data applies, or these governance policies apply across all your devices and all of your data. And that, my friends, is part 2 of the integrated protection and governance of data in Microsoft 365. We really went through the bulk of this last week and kind of wanted to split it up because we were getting a little bit long-winded. But again, everybody, Agile IT Tech Talks are a benefit for our MSP and CSP customers. And these presentations and demonstrations are followed immediately by an open Q&A period where our clients can ask questions and dig deeper into any of the topics discussed. For those of you watching online on YouTube or watching on our blog, please give us a like and follow, and we will see you next week.